Hello, everyone. I thought I'd do a different relocation chart today because I find relocation very interesting. I guess because I like traveling, I like languages, I love culture, so this is something I wanted to share. There's one particular place that I've always been interested in since I was like very young, Netherlands. So as I minimize that, here it is. So as you may already know, you've seen my chart, we're going to kind of go through it connectively. And there's some things, that little details that I don't include. That's fine. Everything's a learning process, right? So as you can probably see here, the highlighted part here is Jupiter with Saturn. Jupiter-Saturn conjunction right here on these descendant. So here's the one that's highlighted in the chart of my relocation chart if I were to move to the Netherlands. And this shows increased potential, but slow because of Saturn, right? Increased I guess things that I would enjoy, specifically like relationships or being able to connect with people more. And that's a good thing for me because it's like, oh wow, okay, it's highlighted there. If you look at where Jupiter and Jupiter-Saturn conjunct was in my chart, it was literally like on the cusp of, we're close, well, not close to, but almost there to the cusp of the third house. So that had a lot to do with my learning style, very practical as Virgo, all that stuff. Here it's still kind of similar, it's still Virgo-ish, but here in this case I would say the details would be to slowly, ambitiously it's like ambitious means, like in this case, remember I told you in a previous video, if you saw it, Jupiter and Virgo I learned was like quietly ambitious because it's all about business ventures. That's Jupiter as well. Optimism, church as an organization sort of thing, basically faith. It's ambitious. It's like belief in the future. It's a very ninth house Jupiter Sagittarius sort of thing, right? There's a connection to that with the 10th house. 10th house is however, the 10th house is more about actual like career reputation. The 9th house is more about getting there. So so it's highlighted that. I thought that was very interesting because now Jupiter is now in opposition to ascendant, naturally, because it's conjunct the descendant. So when a planet is conjuncting an orientation point or the angular houses, it highlights the I guess you could say the facade, the sort of like the gateway towards what happens in that house. I don't know if that makes sense, but basically it means for me that I probably would experience a lot of good relationships, but kind of like it takes its time because of Saturn there. So in this case it will be good because there's a sort of testing thing. I saw this one post recently that the light at the end of the tunnel is real, but the only part of it that's not real is the tunnel itself. We have this belief that it's like I'm limited to what's happening, but if you think of the tunnel as just like it's like a path that you're going through. You're going through the path. It's just a path. You have to take that path, enjoy every single moment. And that's what that thing is, that every single moment is, I guess you can say it's kind of like an astrological testament that Virgo is like that. It's like little details, like, Virgo has a tendency to work through the specifics, right? It's a very earth sign. With that being Jupiter in Virgo in the 7th house, but also conjunct the descendant right here, it shows that any sort of relationship I have becomes more highlighted towards slow, optimistic progress. And also because it's opposition to my ascendant, which was in Pisces, it means that I'd have to put together and create that balance. That's what opposition aspects are, right? Create that balance between how I might appear to people there, which is Piscean, like mysterious, aloof, and not present, kind of just always like in the fantasy world, but realizing that when there's relationship that I might have in the Netherlands is to get to know each other slowly. I might appear this way, but once they get to know me inwardly, they see like, oh, okay, that's the general gist of what's happening there. I thought I'd just like pinpoint that because I thought this is very interesting. Now I wanted to kind of add like in terms of like experiences with the sun and the moon, because that's pretty strong. Those are true. Those are the two strong parts in astrology, and your personality, right? Your identification, sort of. The sun is more about the identification, of course. The moon is sort of like that too, but it's a soul. It's more hidden. It's more about your soul. It's your an inwards journey rather than outward. It's not really relating to people. It's more inwards. So because the sun was in the 7th house, it's great. Because the sun was in Libra, you're right. It's smack into the 7th house here, which has a trine, again, as you already know, to my moon, which is in the 12th house. So my soul's journey is more, in this case, hidden, so to speak. Things that I might experience in the Netherlands might be that I go through the process of emotional ups and downs and emotional experiences in my own way, where it's more a subconscious process. I don't have to really express it, because in my birth chart, typically what happens, it's in the 8th house, right? Which is also still the same thing. It's very similar, but 8th house is it's transformation. But the 12th house is more about really acknowledging what probably I might, what I might eventually, maybe eventually, if I move there, what I might sweep under the rug. Right, so things that I might ignore and avoid. Knowing that, though, that I've transformed quite a lot through my emotions and the deep stuff that I've experienced, especially with trying to Pluto, because it's a natural ability to understand and process, and that transformational energy of emotions and trauma and all that stuff. Going to the Netherlands, if I were going today at this age, I would have a better understanding of it. Whereas if I actually moved, let's say when I was younger, these external experiences, because they were talking about where I'm relocated compared to this chart right here, it would be a different experience, as if I'd never really been able to transform that. So I guess I would be kind of more like alone. It's also a karmic thing, and I learned that karma, there's this lady, there's this video I saw on YouTube. That's this woman who went through a near-death experience, that karma is actually more, it's a cycle within this life. It doesn't pass on to the next life. There's belief. And it's funny because she's actually Hindu. She grew up Hindu. So you would think it's like, oh, it's passed on to the next life. It's life to life to life to life kind of cycle. That's karma. No, it's not. Karma is within one life, which makes sense. It actually ties into astrology. When we're talking about past lives, we're talking about, you can talk about a past life that's in a different form, a different energy, different lifetime, but in terms of karma, it doesn't pass on. So, which is a good thing. That means that any sort of karmic things, or things that I've ignored, things that I choose to do wherever it goes, is for me dealt with on a subconscious level, which actually ties into transformations. I might experience probably still some transformational challenges because of the square here of Mercury Uranus. If I were to move to the Netherlands, that means that I would have to be, I guess you can say, quiet about my own expression of what I want to say, like my thoughts. Probably also like these insights that I get happen through transformations, happens through relationships that have to deal with a lot of trust and all that stuff. I think it kind of ties in because where I have Sun Pluto transformation in the 7th house, because of this aspect of the descendant here, what happens is that eventually, as I get to know people, it will be like those things that I sense that, okay, well, who do I trust, or who can I actually? But because we're talking about, we have to consider the fact that the Mercury and Uranus, again, the same thing as, you carry that through, right? The houses are usually the ones that change. The opposition to Chiron here. The Chiron was, in this case, if I were to move to the Netherlands, Chiron is in the second house, which was in Taurus. So that's a lot of loss of material things. It's go straight into it. Actually matches it because Chiron in Taurus rules the second house. So here in the Netherlands, I probably experience a lot of loss when it comes to like possession, money as well. Not to say that that's going to happen, but maybe it's also symbolic. Maybe it's like value, self-worth. That's the second house. So coming to terms with that, with the opposition, that I can transform from that and say, who knows, maybe living poor and homeless in the Netherlands maybe will be a good thing, because that means I transform to what that means, right? I've known Netherlands to be like this. They have also a sun in conjunct, according to mundane astrology, they have sun conjunct Pluto as well in the Netherlands, but was in Pisces. So if you look at the culture of the Netherlands, they're all about idealistic, but genuine idealism in terms of like social construct, the government. The Netherlands this is why they were the first country in the world to allow for same-sex marriages. And so I thought that was like, oh, okay, that they're socially advanced. It's when I say advanced, I don't mean like Japan, like that's just technology is technology, but the social aspect of being human, idealism, that sort of Piscean thing, beliefs and all that stuff, they're ahead of pretty much most of the world, right? A lot of adaptation as well. If you look at their language itself, there's a lot of borrowed words from French, from Spanish, from English as well. So they're quite there. And I think I would be okay living in the Netherlands. So being poor, so to speak, wouldn't be a problem. In any case, I thought I kind of mentioned that. So I would say that through this, if I went back to the sun here and I looked at going back to the structure of analysis of a chart, whether it's natal or relocation charts, I look into Venus here because Venus rules my sun and also rules Pluto. So that means it's going to be more about, it's still about that perfectionist thing, but here Venus would be in the 6th house if I were to move to the Netherlands again, and it's more to do with relationship in the workplace. People like volunteer or unconscious habits or routine where I would naturally learn from the loss itself through work. Probably loss of work stuff like job positions, and actually learn from that, but it takes a while because of again, you see here Chiron was retrograde, so I would probably experience that. So I would see probably like, it sounds weird because like, no, people get scared about poverty, right? Homelessness. I do too, but I think that in the Netherlands, I don't know, I think it would be okay, because at least okay, because I noticed that this chart is highlighting the descendants. So for me, as a Pluto Sun conjunct in Libra, relationships are so important. So if Pluto is here, and if Jupiter and my Jupiter Saturn conjunct is highlighting the descendant area, and this is the area in the world or the country where I would experience fruitful relationships, I would say, fruitful connections. So I don't think even finding I would be okay with working some sort of store or some sort of but as long as I have that relationship, I think it's a good thing. So anyways, if you have any comments on what you would like to add to what I said, again, I only have a limited amount of time here, let me know. Ciao.